give their bodies to you, give up their lives for you, consider you God, and will kill for you?
Participate in the system. The system will kill you.
And you can have it right now.
Offer them something free and get them to feel obliged to give you something in return.
Well, we gave you that free dinner.
You can have it right now.
Wanna fight back.
You give their bodies to you, give up their lives for you, consider you God, and will kill for you? Which front seat?
We're a Bible study group.
We're a management course. We're a meditation center.
We're a world peace organization. We're a personal development center.
We're a
Join our elite mission to save the world. We can teach you special powers, personal powers, past life connection, telekinesis. Drug rehab.
We have the secrets to self-improvement. You can join us on these special.
Join our elite mission to save the world. We can teach you special powers, personal power,
Psychic power.
past life connection, telekinesis.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Porthole to Justice, the window to the truth. It is September 4th, 2018, and that was The Hive Cult Mix, original music by Zeph Daniel. Okay, today I am having on my good friend, Jillian Mai, who is she's so courageous and tenacious too. And she's debuting her book. It's exposing lies, Candida, weaponized fungus, and mainstreaming mutancy. And I personally have been using her protocol every other weekend for a couple of years now, and I really like it. It's great because we're exposed to things like, smart dust. It's a whole new world, folks. So, tune into the show. Stand by. I'm going to get her on the air. It's probably something you want to share around with family and friends because it's a different perspective on combating Candida, foreign bodies, a lot of the things that we're ingesting and consuming, and we don't even know about it nowadays. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Okay.
This is Jillian.
Hi, welcome to the Porthole to Justice.
I'm so excited. How are you?
I'm great. I'm super excited about your new book.
I am too, because, oh my gosh, I mean, my first book was how this whole protocol came about, and it has a light touching on the protocol, but it doesn't go anywhere near in depth as my second book, which really has some revelations and some major just, whoa, eye-opening stuff that's going to change everything about humanity. Like, literally, it's going to change humanity.
I know, and I was just explaining in the introduction about, you know, that it's a whole new world that we're living in. We're exposed to so much that we don't even know about. And I've been using your protocol for, I think, what has it been, like 2 years now?
Yeah.
And I use it every other weekend for maintenance and for purging out foreign bodies. And
Okay.
I was explaining, you know, it's not just Candida that we have to worry about nowadays. It's smart dust and chemtrails and you know, stuff that's in our
Parasites.
food. Yeah,
Well,
parasites.
all the, see, what it is that we have a lot of different negative elements, right, that we're exposed to, because our whole world is made of elements. So when you have, yes, like smart dust or parasites or, yes, you know, anything else that is not alignable with our body, we got to get the balance back and allow the body and the laws of the immune system to kick in and trigger. So that way we can keep the balance on a voluntary and involuntary basis because of what we're exposed to. And we can't control that, but we can control ourselves and our insides. Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people don't know exactly how far this technology has gone with the programmable flesh or parasites and things like the tattoos that are programmable, the new programmable tattoo ink as well. All of these things are foreign to our bodies.
Yes.
And yeah, so we're living in a whole new time where it's all of these new technologies converging with weaponizing our food with new technologies as well as Candida. And these are things that they have managed to develop to micromanage our lifespans, actually.
Yes. And I was talking about reproduction and how that's being controlled in so many different ways. But in a way now, it's like we're looking at reproduction now with the protocol as something that you actually do guide very carefully. Because and this is kind of interesting because it's going to sort of turn a little bit of the truther community on its end for a minute. But right now, with us being so immunocompromised, we're having people who are having babies left and right and are heavily mutated. And then they're passing those mutations down to their next generation, right? No one's correcting these mutations. So it's very easy to have a baby when you're very, mutated, because the rules of the species is that when your body's on a trajectory of death, it needs to go and make copies of itself. So that's why there's a biological clock ticking. When they know that you're about to die in the next 20, 30 years, and you're on that trajectory of death, now it's time for you to have a baby so you can carry the human race forward. Well, with my protocol, when you're 100% healthy, you're not going to feel sexual, and you're not going to want to procreate, which means that you're going to be the best copy of yourself, which means then you're going to be more strategic in how you make money, as well as anything else that you wanted to do. Whatever you put your mind to, you're going to have the energy and the productivity behind it. But right now, we're so way behind the 8 ball, we got to get over the cancer disease and chronic illness and all the different elements that are trying to control us and trying to control, our sexual energy. So what they're doing is they're targeting our reproductive system to where you can't have babies, but they still keep you sexual. Mm-hmm. So they've basically sterilized you, but they still keep you on a death trajectory, so you're still sexual, but that you're not now, going to be able to carry a baby. And then you die.
Let's talk a little bit about, the tactics that they use to suppress our immune system so that we don't purge out the foreign bodies and the things that are degrading our health.
Well, I mean, first of all, yeah, the vaccines are for one, because what they're doing, they're just manipulating it and just mutating you more. because they're trying to manipulate your adaptive and innate immune system. So yes, the whole point of vaccines, right, is to give you a pathogen so your body takes a hit, creates antibodies. So the next time you get exposed to it, the hit's not going to be as bad, but you still took the hit, you still took the mutation. And whether or not you can overcome that's based upon relative to your background, right? But then other ways, alcohol, then all these different negative political energies suppress your immune system because it gets you all riled up and emotional.
Trauma affects
yes,
your immune system.
Absolutely. And a lot of these processed foods, which are basically what processed foods are, is an overabundance of negative elements that is causing more holes in your stomach, which is leaky gut. So that even when you do take something that's a little bit healthy for you, your body's not going to be able to maximize the nutrition absorption. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you may be getting, so let's say you do change your diet a little bit and you go from a highly processed fast food diet to then a vegan, organic, and gluten-free or keto. Yeah, okay, so you got rid of certain things that fed the Candida and the parasites, right? Maybe you did a parasite detox, but you still haven't really fixed the holes in your gut. So whatever organic food that you're taking, you're not able to absorb that nutrition. So, and then there's still parasites in you. So then you're feeding, and some of the nutrition is getting diverted into the parasites, and then they cause you then eventually over time to age and then die in the system. So it's all of rearranging the negative elements in our society and repackaging them. And that is what suppresses the immune system. Is the fact they sell you into thinking that you're doing something different, but you're only doing superficial changes, nothing too deep.
We've touched on this before, and I've had you on the show in the past.
Uh-huh.
We've been friends for many years. The salt that's used in the protocol. So let's digress a little bit and talk about the protocol specifically.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's lacto-fermented cabbage and kale. Okay. So what you're doing is you're breaking down the cabbage and kale in a lacto-fermented type of pre-digested state, because when you lacto-ferment something, you're breaking it down, you're fermenting it. And you're using salt as one of the elements, not sugar, but salt, because sugar will just enhance and it'll still create lactobacillus, but it will also feed the Candida and the parasites. So we're not using sugar as
and we're not just using any salt.
What?
We're not just using any salt, right? We're using
we're using pink Himalayan salt because that has ancestral knowledge. Okay, pink Himalayan salt is find in the Himalayan mountains. It is untouched by the current climate of all these different negative elements being kicked up. So no sea salt and no Baja Sea of Cortez salt. None of those Celtic salts, no cell salts. So I don't even endorse Santos Bonacci's cell salts, because we're not just doing minerals. We need the sodium, the energizing force that's in the pink Himalayan salt. Mm-hmm. And then you have the minerals that are behind that. So of course no table salt, because that's just a negative. It's a negative. It's an empty mechanism, because salt is an energizing force. And if you have no nutritional elements backed up behind it, then you're energizing a malfunctioning immune system. Because that's what our salt in our regular society today is. We do live in a high sodium processed food diet. That's why we're still living to be about almost 100. But when you energize a body that has no gas or no oil, guess what? It seizes, right? So that's what the elements, the minerals in the pink Himalayan salt give you that, as well as the lacto-fermented cabbage and kale. When you break it down, you get access to those nutrients. And you see on my website, I do have spelled out all the nutrients that are in cabbage and kale. Mm-hmm. I mean, vitamin C is one of the biggest ones. And it has every other, nutrient that your body needs. And there's no antibiotics, no pills, powders, supplements, detoxes, herbs, extracts, or cooked fruit. I think there's one or two things that you can cook as far as fruit, and I think it's just bananas. Because the diet that I have is very strategic. However, people have gone off the diet, still receive benefit, but imagine how much more benefit you would receive if you stayed on the diet 100% until all of your issues have been reversed, and then you can play the maintenance game. Mm-hmm. That's what I try to urge my people to do, is say, hey, hold off for a year, be really strict, reverse every single issue that you know about, and then as you move forward in the process, let's say you're 2 years in like I am, I'm now finally getting to the root cause of something that happened to me at 6 years old. When I had some kind of like weird fungus rash that my body, that my parents put hydrocortisone cream on. And guess what? It disappeared, that rash, right? But guess where that rash went to? Back into my body because I used an antibiotic on my skin. So I don't even have antibiotics or any essential oils or any hydrocortisone or anything topically because you're driving infection and all those parasites and all the fungus back into your body again. Uh-huh. So now what we're focusing on, everything in the holistic industry is a bunch of BS. Mm-hmm. Because what they're doing is not only masking symptoms, but they're driving the infection back into your body. So yeah, so Rick Simpson, may have disappeared some of his tumors, but guess what? They didn't disappear. They went back into the body. You just can't see them because they're mutating something else in your body. Mm-hmm. But you won't know until later.
You know, it's interesting. It's so interesting because I went through, a lot of changes on your protocol. One of which was heightened senses and a lot more equilibrium. It was pretty miraculous. And I've talked about it before on the show. I know you touched on this a little bit, but it's even mentioned in the Bible. Salt was something that was exchanged for money and resource in the past. And there's even references like salt of the earth and things of that nature. Salt wasn't always something that was considered to be toxic. Too much of it was toxic. It was actually a revered mineral in the past. You want to touch on that a little bit?
Well, yes, it was, but they also don't talk about balancing forces. So yes, they do mention salt in the Bible, but when you don't actually put a narrative or a context, and then we're seeing people that take so much salt and they get dehydrated and they get like high blood pressure, which it really wasn't from the salt, it's from their own malfunction. But any concentration of one element can be deadly, right? But they don't mention that in the Bible because they don't go into chemistry in the Bible. They mention one element and they don't give context. Well, how is the salt being taken? What is it being used for? How is it being used? And so now we're even taking it deeper. Like my book goes into the actual chemistry behind the balancing forces of the salt and the water and the nutrition, and then the healing symptoms, and then the laws of the immune system, and then the laws of the universe, and the elemental composition of the human body. Mm-hmm. So the Bible only touches very small. It doesn't go any deeper than that. So people will take that for face value, be like, okay, yeah, but we're now seeing that people are getting dehydrated from salt. So what the hell? So then it totally takes almost, a little bit of credibility away from the Bible because it doesn't go into a deeper context. Mm-hmm. So now what I'm trying to say is now I have an actual science behind all of this. Uh-huh. That yes, will substantiate what they're saying in the Bible, but the Bible doesn't go very deep when it comes to how they take the salt and what, and all that stuff. So now I have taken all the knowledge and the data that is out there on the web, and I burn through all the BS, and I find the nuggets, and I find all of the substantiation, because salt is an energizing force. It allows the laws of the immune system to work, which is the innate and the adaptive. It allows the body to finally regenerate everything that it was designed to be. And then you have to face pain. You can't be run away from pain, because right now our society runs away from pain and anesthetizes themselves, takes CBD oil and pot and opioids, and they try to disappear pain and basically be a walking zombie. No, we're now forcing everyone to actually face the demons. Mm-hmm. Speaking of demons, right? Those are the parasites.
I know, right? Oh my
yes.
gosh. I just want to say something to all of the haters out there. We have some controversial topics that we discuss, and it's so funny because you and I, we've dealt with the haters and the demons, right? And it's so funny because I was looking up your your Facebook stuff this morning. Yep. And it's like Jilly Juice haters. There's like 647 members, and then it's like jillyjuice.com, 64K members. So that in itself speaks volumes, because I think a lot more people have had positive results versus the negative.
Yeah, and the negatives, and even the ones that truly tried this and didn't like it, it's because they couldn't handle the different contexts. It's the pain. Because I knew that some of them that didn't like it did find some kind of benefit, right? But it is so much easier to just anesthetize yourself and take the shortcuts and the easy way out. And the ones that are out there that are talking smack that's never tried it is because all they do is listen to hearsay. Or they go read, something that says hypernatremia, right? Which they don't understand that there's an actual opposite, which is hyponatremia. You can have too much, salt and then too little salt. But then there's also balancing forces. So they're isolating certain things and they're sensationalizing something, or they take something out of context, like Bruce Wilmot, who died, who was in hospice, and then was off the protocol 3 weeks prior to his death, and was drinking pineapple juice. You don't drink pineapple juice when you're in hospice if you're trying to get well. That's some straight sugar.
This really goes contrary to the status quo. This goes into the face of the medical pharmaceutical industry as well as the holistic.
Yes. And people don't realize there are two sides to the same coin. Like, I've now been driving home the fact that we have so many different health practitioners that have died, like Dr. Sebi, the Gerson method. Charlotte Gerson is aging rapidly. We have these health professionals like Deepak Chopra and all these whatever that are, glasses and graying hair, and they're all actively dying and aging in the matrix. So what would prompt anyone wanting to follow them in their footsteps of dying and cell degradation? I've actually
experienced my vision improving.
Yes, I believe it.
That was like one of the first things that I noticed was my vision. I didn't have to wear my glasses as much.
Yeah, you're good. I mean, that's the thing. The body doesn't when the body finally gets access to the nutritional elements and has an energizing force, not just minerals, because if you just take minerals, it's going to do nothing when there's no activity behind it. That's what happened with the whole thing with Celtic salt and sea salt versus the pink Himalayan salt, was that there's more sodium in the pink Himalayan salt than there was in the Celtic salt, because everyone's focusing on the minerals. Oh, you're so mineral deficient. Yeah, you can be mineral deficient, but if you don't have enough of driving force, the energizing force, which is the salt and the electrolytes, how the hell are you going to put to work those nutritional minerals? Okay, so anyways.
Something else interesting that I observed, you and I observed together on this journey, because I've been following you for quite some time, Jillian, was that these parasites, they actually coincide with the 7 deadly sins in the Bible.
Yes.
And they actually have consciousness, and they actually screech, hiss, and heal.
Yes. Okay. Should we name the 7 deadly sins? I mean, I can Google right now, the 7 deadly sins, and I could tell you that my husband, who was on the protocol, the whole thing with the sex, that has to do with the death, dying body, and then, of course, I'm sure the parasites, as well as the body wanting to procreate, but the parasites also wanting you, to I'm sure, being passed back and forth.
Well, they do. They are socialized through, sex. That's and feces as well. But I just so that I want to speak to this just a little bit. The 7 deadly sins are pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. You and I have actually witnessed on live some of these people.
Yes.
Like manifest some of this stuff when they're speaking to you.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the wrath, you see the wrath when someone is so upset, and there's probably parasites. Oh, there is parasites. I mean, I'm sure today after my weekend, I was in the Matrix this weekend, right? I was off the protocol, wasn't drinking. I was eating a bunch of crappy food, right? Mm-hmm. I was a little, I would say emotional. And I wasn't wrathful, but I was definitely high-spirited. So I'm sure that there was a few parasites that got into me that were speaking. Now I have, of course, obviously a context, but that energy force is probably in a way parasitic, right? Because it's a wrathful way, not like, trying to be deadly, but it's a type of energy that causes you to go a little bit higher than what, because, what are you going to do? You're not going to change people's minds because you're getting all pissy, right? If anything, it may drive them away, but it's passion of sorts.
Yeah, they actually, they hiss at the notion of the protocol because it's salt, kind of like the concept of when you pour salt on a snail, right?
Yes, of course, yes.
Foams and puffs up. But they also, like the insect world, they are highly telepathic and they're hive-minded.
Yes. And they band together. That's why you see these groups that have all but the same parasites in these groups. With the same ideology. And they can probably call us the same thing. Oh, they have their own parasites. But we're trying to actively get rid of ours. And when we do, and since I'm not, who says I'm 100% right? I'm not 100%. I don't even know what 100% well is, right? But I'm probably more well than others that have been on the protocol. And obviously the ones that are not on the protocol, I'm way more well than they are, right? But I'm still speaking through whatever balance or imbalance I have in my body. But it's way more balanced than the other guy who wasn't even doing the protocol. Because of the fact of the laws of the immune system is what I'm abiding by.
Yeah, it's really fascinating research, and Jillian's been featured in the Social Media News Network for since its inception, and she talks a lot about her research there. But what I find interesting is they're intelligent. These parasites. They can be programmable as well through trauma and interacting. The smart dust, they build up in your body, and they interact with the, the TVs and the electronics, and it makes you more sensitive when you have a huge buildup of these foreign bodies. Can you talk about how the protocol works with purging these foreign bodies?
Yeah, so when your immune system, when it finally gets triggered the correct way, you have that salt as an energizing force, and it knows what belongs in your body and what doesn't, right? So you have a condominium of critters, and when you finally get your antibodies built up, right, and the body finally is able to access the nutrients, and you have the salt as the energizing force, and you have the water, and you have, the volume. What you're doing is you're going to be triggering everything to go after those foreign objects and sweep it all away. And that's why you have this really cold feeling, and that's why you have the purging, the waterfalls. Okay, so initially, when you do my protocol, you're going to be drinking large amounts in a short amount of time, and your body is going to finally clear the pipes, which is your digestive system, from your esophagus all the way to your large intestine, to where you are going to be doing a waterfall, or it's similar to diarrhea, but it's not. This is a different context, because waterfalls is when you actually give the body the volume of water and the electrolytes and the nutrition, and it uses that to electrify the body to then go after the foreign objects and then start healing at the same time, so you'll be in pain. Diarrhea is when they take what you already have, which is very limited, right? It's a reaction to a poison, and it pulls from your system, and it depletes you, and that's why people get dehydrated when they have diarrhea. Right, but with waterfalls, you're actively going to be thirsty and drinking water. So when you're drinking large amounts of my drink, you're going to be purging. So not only you might throw up, I didn't throw up, but you'll definitely be doing waterfalls, and it'll go through several rounds. You'll be thirsty, you'll be drinking water, and then also you'll see stuff come to the surface in your body, like on your skin, or you might have pain in different parts of your body. So let's say, because look at this. When you have, like, say, a heart transplant, what do they do to your immune system? They suppress it so your immune system doesn't kick the heart transplant out. That's when I first discovered how my protocol works. Is when I realized when someone has a major organ transplant, they have to suppress the immune system so the immune system does not kick out that foreign object. So now look at reverse reasoning here, okay? And now you're triggering your immune system so you can purge out all the foreign objects, which would include smart dust, parasites, extra fungus, extra heavy metals, everything that doesn't belong, that is not aligned with the elemental composition of the human body.
So something that I experienced, and I remember calling you in the very beginning, I realized that, the parasites actually leave nest pockets in your body. These can become like polyps or pockets like of sounds really gross, but the eggs, right? And as a natural reaction, when you're on the protocol, as the parasites are purging out of the body, they actually release like poisons. Right. And this is to sort of signal you to stop and get you to stop. So let's talk about these triggers that might prompt people to stop at a very crucial point.
Well, I mean, it could be so many different triggers. I mean, it could be pain. It could be, feelings of like just, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. I mean, it all depends on where they're leaving it, where it's being targeted. So anytime someone, is saying no, they don't want to do the protocol anymore, is because those parasites, triggered whatever ailments they already had that caused them to try to do this to begin with. I mean, it's like the devil and the angel on your shoulder.
Yeah.
You have you as a human, as the angel trying to live, and you have the devil, which is the parasite and the fungus and the virus microbes, all working in concert together, trying to survive. So, yeah, anytime someone has a second, anytime it's someone that does this and they know they liked it in the beginning and then they all of a sudden they just get off it, it's because, the pain, they couldn't handle pain, and they couldn't handle that voice telling them, oh, you're going to die, or, oh, it's all very, tailored.
I went through a phase. And I think I called you where I was having really bad headaches with the protocol, and I was feeling like this on the side of my head. I was massaging this little area, and I noticed, like, this sounds really gross, but I started purging all kinds of stuff out of my nose.
Oh, yeah. See, I haven't had that. There are people that, my husband, he got major headaches. Okay, so some may get stuff coming out of their nose. Some may be throwing up stuff. It all depends. Some has stuff coming out of their ear.
But I don't get
or their eyes
anymore. I haven't had a headache in so long.
That's so good. And I don't either. I mean, I remember having where I had that phantom movement on the side of my head. Then I had a massive headache right after that. And then I finally, hindsight's 2020. You look back and you're like, oh wow, there is a connection between that phantom movement on the side of my head and then that massive headache later on. So, the die-off is crazy. Literally, the die-off is crazy. But, everybody has a different experience with how these... Some people have, blood clots behind their eyes because parasites are in their eyes and they're creating blood clots.
Oh, yeah, I noticed when my vision started improving, I didn't have, those little floaters, I didn't have as much mucus in my eyes or little floaters. All of that has cleared up.
Isn't it true? It's amazing how many parasites we have in our body. It's amazing. And that's the thing is, even when you go off the diet for a certain amount of time, let's say even for 3 or 4 days, and you eat so much crap, it does change. It does change your, it changes a little bit. I don't know, man. You can tell a behavior with somebody. I can tell my behavior with my husband when I was off the protocol and I was eating crap. And I was off of Facebook too. See?
Well, no, because
I was in jail.
What I'm saying. With the new technology, when you have a lot of this built up in your body, they interact together.
Yes, and it changes your behavior.
Yeah,
it changes. So, I don't know. It's very interesting.
It is. It's all really interesting. It's an interesting area of research, and I'm so glad that you host these morning lives on your Facebook live feed in the Social Media News Network, and you go into great detail about your research. But not only that, I was going to say something else about your research. Oh, I do want to say this though. It'll come back to my mind. you went on the Dr. Phil show.
Yeah. Yep.
And
yeah.
I was so, okay, he's supposed to be like a credible person. He conducted no study. Yep. He did not try the protocol himself. And yet you were highly criticized. I mean, we're talking, they didn't even hardly give you any, it was just a roast.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, and the funny thing is, too, Amelia, this is crazy. This is before the OAG, before I was asked to substantiate the 9 or 10 different claims that I made, right? And so I didn't have all of my science, like, completely, like, all the duckies in a row like I have today. But even with not all my science put together, I knew intuitively that the body can regrow organs, the body can regrow limbs. I didn't have the right specific scientific words to go up against the Dr. Yaudim, who was saying, "Oh my God, there's no nutrition in cabbage," which she totally, you know, is wrong. There is nutrition in cabbage, but I didn't have all those buzzwords that I can throw at them and trip them up. So I was basically just going off of what I intuitively knew that they couldn't even wrap their mind around, much less do any research behind it. But yes, it was a roast because but here's the thing. They knew that Angie and Bridget had issues. They had medical issues that they claimed that my protocol cleared up. They had to go and substantiate their medical stuff. And then they showed the before and after picture. That's how they got on the show. So Dr. Phil knew that this was credible, but how they positioned and how they sensationalized the whole, you know, the drama around it was what they wanted to drive home, because they knew that this was going to be like Democrat versus Republican. It was going to be a feeding frenzy on both ends. And of course, that's what they market. Is they market sensationalizing emotional issues, shocking people. And of course, you know, Jeff Holiday and, you know, and the other two ladies. I mean, that was more cannon fodder for them. Mm-hmm. But no matter what, I dropped seeds. So that was the bright side of it, is I dropped seeds. I think it is a national conversation now on some level.
Yeah, it is everywhere. I think personally, I think the controversy is great. I thought you held yourself very well on that show.
Yes.
Regardless.
Yes, and I wish I had all what I had written to the OAG, which is still under investigation. But guess what? It's only for advertising. It's not an investigation on whether or not what I'm doing was wrong. It was the fact that I advertised something that may have violated, so I had to change my advertising. I couldn't make absolute statements. So, you know, I've still yet to hear from them. I mean, if I do hear from them, they will never not endorse me or endorse me, because they would have to take a side. And no matter what side they would be on, it would make them not look very intelligent, because everything that I've substantiated is from government publications. There is nothing that I've just made up. Everything that I have substantiated came from a government website that already did the experiments and the research.
So, Jillian, let's talk about your new book, because this has been a long time coming. I mean, this has been a masterful work in progress, and I'm excited.
Yes. Me too. So, yeah, my book is how to implement. It's called the Jilly Juice Protocol. And it does have the science behind what I substantiate to the OAG in the back of the book. So that's like the bonus material. But the Jilly Juice Protocol tells you how to implement the protocol. So assuming you read my first book, which is a free book, everybody, you know, should have access to. And also the science is free for everybody too. That's on my website. But once you've gone through at least some of that information, read some of the testimonies and read the science, then this book is ready for people who want to actually do the protocol. So it walks them through step by step what it is, how our society is set up, and how to implement and what to expect, and then common questions that people would have regarding their situation, like if they had a major or minor organ transplant. What are miscellaneous foreign objects? What are, implants? How would you give this to babies, plants, and animals? What to expect when you're healing? Mm-hmm. What's an antibiotic lifestyle? The types of people. It's a few testimonies, nothing crazy, because I couldn't get 100 people to give me permission to use their testimony.
I thought I gave you permission to use mine.
No, I know, but there were so many of them. That trying to figure out which one, and I'm at the 11th hour. So I use like only 3, which is okay, because you know what? Testimonies are good, but it's about the science. Because no matter what, there's always going to be someone that's going to have a negative opposite testimony, right? So no matter what, it's always going to be met with equal opposite reaction, right? So now it comes down to the laws of the immune system. Do you understand? So this explains to you the laws of the 3 things: the laws of the immune system, the laws of the universe, and nutrition. And the laws of the immune system is the elemental composition of the immune system, and the adaptive and the innate immune system, and then nutrition, and then the periodic tables, the laws of the universe. Okay, and so it explains what upset and homeostasis is. It explains, hey, what is sauerkraut? Is sauerkraut like it, or why I chose the fruits and the vegetables that I chose? I mean, it really does explain, why you're, purge out psychological trauma. I mean, it just goes into so much detail on certain things, like mucus, weaning off of drugs, future triggers, kidneys and water.
My guest has a question in regards to addiction. Does Jilly Juice contain any kind of alcohol substance? I don't think so.
No, because we're not using sugar. Sugar, alcohols is what creates the alcoholic content when you're fermenting fruit. That's how wine gets fermented, right? It's fermented fruit. Sugar creates the alcohol. Okay, when you ferment vinegar, you get the ethanol, which is negative elements, which is totally negative, right? Salt, when you ferment salt, right, and you ferment a vegetable like the cabbage and the kale, the byproduct is lactobacillus, and you broke down the cabbage and kale to a pre-digested state, so for easier absorption. You don't get alcohol from salt. Salt is never anywhere near alcohol. Unless, of course, you're drinking a margarita, right?
No, yeah. No, and that makes total sense to me. So no, it does not. I would say that it's actually wonderful for addictions, and especially addictions like smoking, cigarettes, because salt actually is very beneficial to drying up mucuses and things of that nature, side effects.
Well, and here's the thing. It's not just the salt, because we're now looking at more than just the salt. Remember, this is a protocol that has several elements, right? That it has the water, and it has also the cabbage and the kale nutrients. So with addiction, is you will keep smoking on the protocol. Don't quit your addictions, okay? I mean, quit, yes, the bad food. Yes, sugar addiction. Yes, you're still going to go through healing symptoms and withdrawals from getting rid of the sugar. But you have fruit to kind of give you a little bit of a good transition, and it's healthy, right? Fruit is healthy. So, but when if you're addicted to coffee or alcohol or drugs, you stay on them until your body gets rid of that trigger to where you don't want to have it anymore. So yes. Yeah,
I actually noticed that I lost my cravings for sugar and alcohol, anything like that. All of those cravings really subsided for myself. So there is no alcohol content in Jilly Juice, to answer your question. The other question is, she wanted to know what kind of degrees that you carry.
I have no degrees. I have a Google scientist degree. Because if you have a degree in our society and you're licensed, guess what? You have a license to kill, and look what's going on in the Matrix. Everybody is dying. So do you want me to have a degree to have a license to kill? Or do you want me to take my intelligence and see past the business models with a different intention and experiment without having to harm people, which I'm not? And I experiment on myself. And here's the thing, why is myself the same as you? Because we're all human. So whatever happens to me, it's going to happen to you. My husband and I had to pee the same time the last couple nights, in the middle of the night, 3 times. You know why? Because he's on the protocol and so am I, and we ate the same foods. So him and I, he's male and I'm female, but we're exactly the same. Our bodies are exactly the same. So you don't need a degree to know how to read and apply concepts and look through the BS and the propaganda. No one is guiding my intentions. I am guiding my own intentions. And that's the difference between a degreed person and a non-degreed person.
So yeah, this is not a substance. This is nutrients. This is not. It's not a substance. It's not considered a drug or an alcohol. I think that's what the guest was inquiring about.
Oh, okay. It's cabbage water. It's basically liquefied sauerkraut. If I can get it to be like the most recognizable thing you guys know out there in the Matrix, it's liquefied sauerkraut with a specific recipe. It has way more water than sauerkraut does, because sauerkraut has probably the same amount of salt, if not more.
I would say, if you have any kind of addiction or anything like that, a lot of that is a product of having a huge buildup of parasites. Parasites are also, they are a repetitive cycle. They're the ones screaming for those. When you have a large buildup of that in your system or foreign bodies, you're going to be having more cravings for negative substances, right?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, when you got your body used to an element, right? Whether it's alcohol or cigarettes or opioids or meth or whatever, right? And then you take away that element, it's going to throw the balance off the body, right? Because the body is in homeostasis. It figured out and adapted to that element. So now with my protocol, you're going to be upsetting homeostasis in the right direction, in the right context. Because there's 3 ways to upset homeostasis. When you take away an element that the body is used to, like alcohol or your addiction, when you add in nutrition, or when you add in a poison. So you have to understand the laws of the immune system and the laws of the universe to understand that when you upset homeostasis, it has to be in the right context. Because we're taking, one specific symptom right now in our society, and we're applying the wrong context to it. So that's why we're having all this misunderstanding about symptoms, because they're applying the wrong context, the wrong laws. They're not even laws. They're violating the laws.
I would actually, this is just my personal opinion, but I would actually say that Julie Juice protocol is complementary to someone that is trying to detox from any kind of addictions or substances.
Yes. Oh, yeah. And I'll even go as far as to say that it may even, I know this can be very controversial, but it will change your sexual orientation, whether it's pedophilia to LGBT and even straight.
Well,
because even straight people can be non-sexual.
That goes into one of the shows that I did with David Malkin, where he talks about, he actually talks about how they've altered, a lot of this has been, scientifically altered.
Proven, yes.
Products that we consume, the food products, and even what they're spraying on us and in our waters has had a huge effect on our reproduction and sexual orientations. A lot of that has been affected through some of these toxic elements that we're exposed to now, because it's a new day, it's a new age, right?
Well, and then here's the thing too, all these different vaccines that put together all these different elements, it's called DNA methylation, where they're taking specific elements, right, throwing them together within also aborted fetus cell tissue from different systems in your body. Let's say the reproductive system in an aborted fetus cell tissue, and they add in elements, right, and they add in other parasites and the viruses, and they throw this cocktail in a vaccine, and they inject somebody. Guess what? It's now you have these elements that are programming your body to be mutated. Which is why you're seeing people who are walking around.
Yeah, that's the program of the flesh that I've been talking about, and people are like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, we are consuming flesh. We are consuming flesh in our processed foods, in our vaccines. It's a horrible. It needs to be stopped, actually.
Well, the way to stop it is, you know what? Counter it. Drink my juice and counter every single thing they're trying to do to us. Because that's the only way that we can actually have control over this, aside from raising awareness, which that's what your program's about, is raising awareness so people understand, okay, this is what's going on. Now, here is the possible answer if you can understand the concepts that are involved, which means that you have to throw away all the old programming of running away from pain. Because part of that programming is, oh, let's run away from pain and take opioids and take CBD oil and take pot and anesthetize yourself, which I get. I understand that is part, which is okay. If somebody's in that much pain and they're doing my protocol, they could integrate both. But I would never suggest anyone to just smoke pot and that's it, because you are anesthetizing yourself. You're not allowing your body to heal. But if you integrate both my protocol and the pot, that would give you then a reason then eventually not to smoke the pot, because that's what you're doing, is you're managing symptoms.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
And
okay.
Yeah,
I don't want to knock that part of your community.
It makes total sense to me because I've actually experienced the protocol. Jillian.
Yeah.
I thank you so much for coming on my show. And I want to have
You're
you
welcome.
on again. And we have a few minutes left before the end of the hour. But I want to use it to talk about, how people can find you on Facebook, where they can get your book, how they can learn more about the protocol.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Go to jillyjuice.com, JILLYJUICE.com. And then, go hit the get started link on the welcome page, and it'll walk you through the process. Okay. First, you can get my first book, read that, get the science, read that. And those are all PDF documents that you can download from my website, all for free. Okay. And then if you like if you liked what I wrote, then you can then put your money where your mouth is and then buy the book, which you go to the books link, and then that will then direct you then towards Lulu. And you can pick either the ebook, which is the electronic book for $9.99, or you can pick the physical book, which is $19.95. And both of those will give you directions on how to access the discussion forum. And that all we need is when you buy the book, whether the ebook or the physical book, you send us an email, which my email address is in the book as well as in the ebook as well as on the website, and then attach the receipt, and then we'll give you a login and password, so that way you can ask all the questions you want, watch more videos that I have on that site as well as other pages on that site that you'll have access to, and then you'll be able to talk to like-minded people. So that way it'll give you the support. But I want to make sure that you do read my first book and the science, so that way you understand. And that way you can then make an intelligent decision if this is for you. And then the book will then be how to implement it and more information.
Wow.
So,
Jillian, I am so proud of you.
Thank you. Oh, my God. Thank you so much. It's been a roller coaster. I tell you what, Amelia, it's been a major roller coaster. So
I know. And it's like this transition to, when you go public, it's this huge transition. You're no longer it's no longer personal. It's like you become subjective. So there's always criticism. There's always going to be criticism, but it's a process as a human being to step out of yourself and really decompress from that, and see yourself as subjective. And you are just so tenacious, and I commend you because you're so brave. And you're doing something really just tremendous for humanity, and I thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me on here, and I really admire your tenacity because it's tough bringing up very difficult, controversial subject matters, and it's hard to deal with negativity all the time. It really is. I don't know how you do it. Obviously, how does Jillian do it, right? Because she's always getting attacked. How does anybody do it, right? So we're all trying to figure out how to balance the two, right? And it's always a battle, but it's a battle worth fighting. It really is when you believe in something.
And it always helps because I have friends like you where I can go and watch your lives, and you always bring the equilibrium because you're just you speak right to it. And I admire you so much, and I'm so happy that you're my friend.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
And thank you for coming on. Well, listen, this is not the end, right? I'm gonna have you back on again.
Okay, well, let me know, and I'll be back, and I'll be happy, and hopefully, life will be different.
It's
or maybe it's the same. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much,
honey.
Jillian. And I will call you back. Everyone, This has been another episode of Porthole to Justice, Off the Cuff. You can check out Jillian Mai Facebook Lives exclusively in Social Media News Network on Facebook. You can also go to jillyjuice.com and learn more about her protocol and find links to purchase her new book that is Exposing the Lies, Candida, Weaponized Fungus, and Mainstreaming Mutancy. And thanks so much for tuning in. I'm going to close out the show with a song called Parasites, it's original music by Zeph Daniels.
Energy that's not yours. You're not supposed to be sucking off that energy that is not yours. You're not supposed to be sucking off that energy that is not yours. You're not supposed to be sucking off that energy that is not yours. You're not supposed to be sucking off that energy. You're not supposed to be sucking off that energy. I repeat, you're not supposed to be sucking that energy that is not yours. To be sucking off that energy that is not yours.